There will be a new demo that will come to overseas regions, not just limited to America anymore, giving everyone a global chance to play Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 early, alongside new features that people are expecting to see with the game, such as the endgame loop, what you're going to be doing after the story, character customization, branching story paths, multiplayer environments, and timers and resources regarding to transformations, supers, ki, and stamina. Hello everyone, it's me again, Steve Doja here, back to more Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, and this time we're going to be talking about, again, the future updates coming to Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 that we'll see at Gamescom 2026, which is, again, just over a week away, so we don't have to wait that long to see that, but I do actually want to talk about some of these things, and the thing I'm going to start off with, obviously, is, again, the character customization, because, again, it's a game about custom characters. We want to start with the most interesting thing, which is the character customization. Now, again, we haven't actually seen that much of it. We've only seen the pre-selected screens for the female Earthling and the male Saiyan, but we do know that from even just that alone, the customization in Xenoverse 3 is quite a bit more than the one in Xenoverse 2, whether it's just seeing a bunch of thick character models around in the lobby, or even smaller character models like Teen Gohan and stuff like that. You could never make your character that small in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 or 2. The different hairstyles and how the different hairstyles will obviously change when you go Super Saiyan, and even the fact that the game might actually have customizable Super Saiyan hairstyles. Again, this is just a theory, but the hairstyle that your character takes on is very, reminiscent of Goku's hairstyle when he goes Super Saiyan. Now, obviously, again, Goku's the main character, so that just makes sense, but what if there's different takes on the Super Saiyan hairstyle, like Caulifla's version of it, Kale's version of it, Kefla's, Broly's, Vegeta's, Gohan's, etc. There are so many different Super Saiyan hairstyles that would be possible to change them, because in Dragon Ball The Breakers, they already did this. They had customizable hairstyles in Dragon Ball The Breakers, and when you went Super Saiyan, your hairstyle changed depending on your base form hairstyle. Now, the customization option might allow you to pick what you want your Super Saiyan hairstyle to be beforehand. A great example of this is One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. That game also had custom characters in it, and you could actually change how your transformation looked in that game. So I'm not saying that Dragon Ball is going to take inspiration from that. It's a Bandai Namco game, so they could just copy it one-to-one because it's in their rights. But I'm not saying Dragon Ball is going to take direct inspiration from that, but it's also a possibility, and also acknowledging that Bandai does know, yes, we can make you change how you look after you've transformed, so you might be able to just freely customize your Super Saiyan hairstyles, but for now, let's assume it works exactly like Dragon Ball The Breakers, where you can only change it based on what your actual base form hairstyle is as well. Now, with the other races like Margins and Freezers, we still haven't seen that much of them. Yes, we have seen skinny male Margins, which is, again, rare, because male Margins used to only be fat in Xenoverse 1 and 2, but he couldn't have physiques like Super Buu or anything, or like the skinny Margin Buu from the Tournament of Power arc, right? But it seems like in Xenoverse 3 they can, but that's the most we've seen. We haven't seen tall Freezers, because Freezers average around Freezer's height, not Cooler's height. We haven't seen anything else for the other races. It's just skinny Margins so far, and that's pretty much it. We don't even have different antennas for the Namekians to our knowledge right now, but again, it's just a waiting game. Maybe at Gamescom they'll finally reveal more of this stuff, because we still haven't seen that much when it comes to custom characters. So wanted to get character customization out of the way really quick, because that is, again, the biggest and most important part of your game about custom characters. Now, I did want to talk about the post-game content, but I'm going to make it really quick, because post-game content for Xenoverse 3, obviously, after you beat the story mode, is going to be unlocking all your favorite transformations, getting your favorite outfits, getting your favorite super attacks, doing the rest of the parallel quests in the game. And if it's anything like Xenoverse 1 and 2, there'll be more parallel quests in the end game than there will be before you finish the story modes, because those games did make a lot of parallel quests for you available after. Now, again, Xenoverse 1 and 2, especially Xenoverse 2, just kind of takes a lot of parallel quests from Xenoverse 1, one-to-one, and I don't know if Xenoverse 3 can do that, of how different the gameplay is, as well as the stages and the maps, so that might not happen, but obviously, to increase the time that you're playing the game, the devs will put RNG in the post-game. You just have to expect that. It's going to be RNG to unlock Super Souls, Clothes, Super Attacks, etc. Things like transformations, obviously, just do them and they're guaranteed, but people will be unlocking stuff well after the game comes out, so we'll have to really actually wait for the game to be out and to beat the story mode to know how that's going to go, so I can't really talk about this part for too much longer. Let's move on to the story. Another thing I have to mention, and I think it's something that all of you agree on, is the branching paths of the Xenoverse 3 story. Now, I'm not saying that's guaranteed that Xenoverse 3 is going to have branching paths, but I do want to bring up how the extra story missions, and exclusively the final DLC chapter with the Future Saga chapters, are all very custom character focused, and even have multiple choices for things you can pick in them, such as when Fu is falling into the black hole, or even just every, insane option available in the extra mission story. Now, again, no guarantee that Xenoverse 3 story is like that, because that would be a lot of effort, but I think we we could all agree, it would be much appreciated. Not to mention, since we are focusing on a more custom character focused story rather than just doing Dragon Ball again, but something slightly changes. Like even the marketing for Xenoverse 3 has been custom character, custom character, custom character. They still haven't fully revealed Goku's design. Imagine being like 3 trailers into a Dragon Ball game and not knowing how Goku looks in that game. That's how insane the focus is on custom characters this time around. So wouldn't be shocked if they actually go for the multiple choice story that they did for the extra missions in Xenoverse 2, because again, that's everyone's favorite story in Xenoverse 2. The Future Saga tries to feature it or emblemate it as much as possible, but at the end of the day, extra missions were just completely lit. You could play as Cooler, Broly, Hercule. You could have all of these characters follow you through these different events, and they would change it so massively. Heck, even the most normal extra mission changes are more unique than the regular story changes. A good example is that if you bring Goku to fight Perfect Cell, something that does already happen in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, it changes massively with the androids showing up going, oh, hey, we want a piece of Goku too. If Android 13 and a bunch of other characters trying to kill him too, which I think is just so unique compared to what we got with Xenoverse 2. So again, no surprise if they do a massive big extra mission thing where a bunch of different characters could come in and help. That would be really cool, but again, we have to wait to see. We still don't know how the multiplayer environments for Xenoverse 3 are going to look. Now, obviously, the main guess is that when you're walking around the new West City, maybe if you're doing the multi-lobby feature like you are in Xenoverse 1 and 2, other players will be there as well. Maybe you can fly around the West City. We haven't really seen anything of that yet, like the same way you could fly around, Conton City, which was a massive development from Xenoverse 1. In Xenoverse 1, you had to walk everywhere. Even though it's a Dragon Ball game, you had to walk everywhere. In Conton City, you got to fly everywhere. And I don't think we've seen even any, airborne kind of gameplay around the West City area that isn't, combat-based gameplay, right? Obviously, the combat movement is very different to the regular walking around movement that we see in the trailer. So again, I don't know how the multiplayer environments are going to be. I hope it's still like Conton City, because while Toki City is fine, not being able to fly to where I want to go in a Dragon Ball game is kind of weird. Like, they knew to change that with Xenoverse 2 in Conton City, especially because there's locations you can only reach by flying to them, which is, again, very, very unique. So I'm curious how they're going to handle that in Xenoverse 3. Obviously, they might take flights away because, again, we haven't seen anything of it. And it doesn't look like there's anything in the sky either. It doesn't look like there's any key places to go to, whether it's flying up to them or jumping up to them or traveling up to them in any way. It seems like it's going back to the Conton City thing. And I do want to mention that when Xenoverse 2 actually added the new lobbies inside of Parallel Quest and PvP matches, the one where you get to walk around outside the Time Nest location that was in Toki City for Xenoverse 1, you can't fly around those areas. You just can't. You can just only jump around and do a few emotes and stuff like that. So they might be going back to a system where you don't fly around the lobbies anymore, which would stink a little bit because I really appreciate being able to fly around the location. But if, and I say if, and this is only on this chance, if it does reduce the game's load, because one major problem with Content City is that everything that gets added to Content City chugs the rest of the game so hard, it makes lag so much worse than it needs to be. If it reduces the load of the overall game and doesn't create a laggy nightmare like Xenoverse 2, then I'm completely okay with that. It cannot be overstated how much lag ruins Xenoverse 2 in general. Even if you're just doing PvP stuff, your ultimate attack missing an enemy because someone else is hitting an enemy just because of lag is completely garbage. And then in PvP, it's even worse. Several things you do throughout the entire fight will just not work because the game is lagging, or if someone's using an exploit, lag will enhance the exploit even further, making the game even less fun to play. And I'm very sure people don't want to quit Xenoverse 3 like a week after it comes out, the way they did with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, right? That's a good example of a game that just gets dropped almost immediately after it comes out. And it's all because people just, well, I say people, it's all because the devs refuse to fix a very small issue that would, again, be a really quick fix, right? Just remove the option to do this, just fix that, just tune that a little bit. No, they just leave it, and it just ruins the whole game forever. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was timers and resources regarding gameplay functions. And I think this is something that obviously everyone has talked about already, so I just want to mention it again. I'll probably make this part the shortest part. I don't want to make it super long like I normally do. But transformation, super attacks, key, and the stamina feature. Because some people still really don't like the way a lot of these are done. There are some things like transformations where people are like, oh, transformation should be infinite. They shouldn't be on a timer. And, you know, you could somewhat be like, well, I can see why transformations would be timed. Because when transformations are infinite, a good example like Super Saiyan Blue Evolved in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, a transformation that's ridiculously easy to upkeep, especially after it's buff. It makes the game crazy unbalanced because someone just has a permanent stat gap that is way, way bigger than their opponent for the whole match. And again, if they're stacking exploits or the best supers in the game or other super souls and other, you know, ridiculous features on top of that, they can be even harder to beat. So, you know, maybe transformations not being infinite, for the better. But when it comes to stuff like ki and stamina, I do actually would like if you could see your stamina the whole match. Because again, ki isn't a factor in this game anymore, right? Super attacks are now just based on your timers. Because you fire a super attack, a big timer starts until you can use a super attack again, right? That's fine. Ki basically isn't a thing in this game anymore. It's just stamina now. And I wish you could see your stamina at all times, because when you're at full stamina, the bar just disappears, which is like, I guess that's because you're at full stamina. You should know how much your full stamina is. But I do want to remind you that when we saw the gameplay footage, it was only like level 40 characters fighting each other, right? They only have like 5 bars of stamina. But being able to see your resources 24/7 would just be nice. Again, the heads-up display for Xenoverse 3 obviously isn't done. That looks like a very early heads-up display. For example, it has even less detail than the Xenoverse 1 heads-up display. Hell, I think it has less detail than the goddamn Super Dragon Ball Heroes card game Fusion Warrior Battle, the Nintendo Switch game. Has detail on it. So it's obviously not done. The game does release next year after all. Even a lot of things are Sparking Zero's heads-up display changed, and that's when the game was mostly finished too, when they finally showed this gameplay of it. Thankfully, they are taking inspiration from Xenoverse 2's heads-up display from the looks of it. Like when you attack enemies, you get to see how much stamina they have and how low their stamina is getting. Thank the Lord, because if you guys recall in Xenoverse 1, you couldn't actually see how much ki or stamina an enemy had. So you had no idea if you had them pushed to their limits or if they were on completely full resources and were going to beat the crap out of you for trying to overextend, which was dumb. I'm so glad they changed that in Xenoverse 2, and it seems like Xenoverse 3 is keeping that up. So thank you, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, for keeping that up. But I would like to still know more about these overall things. Again, these things are things that can just be changed or addressed or shown to us more in future, because again, Gamescom is going to come out, and Gamescom is a big thing. It's going to have Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 featuring at it. That's going to help a ton for relaying information regarding the game. So all we have to do is simply just wait. But while we're waiting, we should still make our voices heard. Obviously, we shouldn't just turn into mindless barbaric driveling about things that don't matter or being way too overly aggressive. I always say that. If you just yell and are super negative and overly aggressive about anything, do you think someone's going to want to listen to that? They're going to go, oh, this guy's just really like annoying, you know? We have to make our voices heard, but we have to not be annoying about it, so that way Bandai Namco gets the message, right?